special niche that it's too much math.
Let me silence my phone.
I'm gonna do it.
You know somebody locally that does that?
Everything good?
Locally here,
Good.
Rock Hill.
Like here?
Can't beat it, can you?
All right. It is 4 o'clock, and I would like to call our special meeting of County Council to order. First item on the agenda is an executive session. Part A is personal matters. Number one, is discussion of matters related to the employment, appointment, and compensation of employees within county administration pursuant to South Carolina Code of Law, Section 30-4-70 Alpha 1. We'll have a motion that we go into executive session. Got a
Make that motion.
by Councilman Smith, second by Vice Chairman Cease. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. We will go into executive session. We will be as prompt as we can. We are back. Newberry County Council went into executive session for the aforementioned reasons. No action was taken. Do I have a motion that we come out of executive session? Motion by Vice Chair C, second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. We are now out of executive session. Item number 2 on the work session, review and discussion of proposed revisions to the buffer and open space requirements and zoning ordinance of Newberry County codified in Chapter 153 of Code of Ordinances of Newberry County. Mr. Shacker, your turn.
Good evening, everybody. Well, if you don't mind me setting the table, I know we've got probably 35 minutes maybe to work with. We've gone through a process here where, council reviewed proposed updates to our land development regulations, which were in need of that. I think the last time they had been looked at, or amended at least, was 27 years ago, I think. So it was time to deal with that. Of course, that was after we adopted a revised comprehensive plan. Council also provided some direction, and the Planning Commission agreed that we eliminate provisions for clustering. More dense development, if it's a low-density zone, would require rezoning. It couldn't be, the density couldn't be increased administratively. The concept there is it's more public notice, there's more due process, and there's a procedure that would flow through the Planning Commission and the council to accomplish that. The next thing we went over was the creation of a new zoning district. This was at the last meeting, called the Residential Master Plan District. And council hasn't approved that yet. At the 6 p.m. meeting, we've got first reading of that zoning district. But the concept was, could we apply some plan development concepts to exclusively residential developments? Because plan development, there's a mixed use requirement where you have like commercial and residential, or you have possibly even some industrial uses with commercial. And I think y'all were pretty receptive to the concept. We'll talk more about that at the 6 p.m. meeting. But again, the idea was that the master plan for a piece of property would become the zoning for that property. And one of the goals of that is to buffer adjacent uses and require significant amounts of open space. Y'all wanted to preserve the character of Newberry County, so that's an objective. That zoning district does not zone any property to it. It just makes it available to a property owner or a party that is proposing to purchase a piece of property to rezone to that classification, but it doesn't change the zoning of any property in the county. We felt like the next step, and this is something that would go to the Planning Commission at their next meeting, but we wanted to get some front input from y'all on, are some revisions to the zoning ordinance that would address current zoning districts. So this would apply beyond the residential master plan district. And it also would correct, or from a consistency standpoint, some existing language that we have in the ordinance that applies to plan development districts and buffer and landscape requirements. So if y'all don't mind, I'd like to go through that. And then if y'all don't disagree, we'd like the Planning Commission to take a look at that at its October meeting. If they have a recommendation in favor of some changes, and they may want to modify what I'm about to go over, then it would come back to council. That would be kind of the flow of this. So y'all have a copy of this in front of you. But what we're proposing, let me make sure I'm starting with the right section, is in the Plan Development District section. So this is section 174 of the ordinance. Again, Plan Development District's a lot like the Residential Master Plan District, and it is existing. That's already in the ordinance, but it has a mixed-use requirement. But it's really simple. It involves master planning a piece of property and that master plan becoming the zoning for that property. So in there, we wanted to clarify, and you'll see this in Section B, subsection 7A1, we wanted to specify that floodplains are delineated floodplains. And delineated floodplains mean in Newberry County a 100-year event. So that's a delineated FEMA 100-year rain event floodplain. So that's in addition. In subsection B12, you'll see a good bit of red there. And what we're proposing is with this change, that any amendments to a planned development district would have to go to the planning commission and then to council. You know, right now, there's a distinction made between minor and major changes, but that would be inconsistent with the residential master plan district, because y'all said at the last meeting you wanted any changes to residential master plan to go to the planning commission and then council. And because it's really the same concept minus the mixed use, we felt like that flow chart needed to be the same. So this proposes to modify that to make it clear that it goes through what amounts to a legislative process in order for changes to be approved, not an administrative process. So that's the green and the red on that. We're also proposing to you that that council establish, and we've got it labeled Section 181, existing vegetation. And this would impose some restrictions on land clearing if the clearing of the land is for a proposed development, including a major subdivision, which again is when you split property into more than 5 pieces, that triggers the major subdivision treatment in the land development regulations as opposed to a minor subdivision. Multifamily residential or manufactured home park. And the reason that we pinpointed those 3 uses is because the major subdivision, I think, goes without saying. That's a major development. But with the manufactured home park and the multifamily residential, you could not have a subdivision. I mean, that could be developed without subdividing the land. And so, you know, we wanted to make sure that those were additionally listed because, you know, they wouldn't necessarily require, you know, major subdivision treatment. So that's why the 3 things are listed there. And what it says is that if it's proposed for development, that a tree survey would have to be conducted before it's clear cut or major, you know, losses of trees occur. A tree survey would have to be conducted by either an arborist or a landscape architect. And what it would do is it would identify, or an urban forester, and what it would do is identify trees on the property, and there would have to be a plan for saving significant trees. And you'll see kind of later in that document, I tried to put them in order of the section numbers, but we need to define what a significant tree is. You know, we use the term significant tree in there. And it's a tree with a diameter of 8 inches or more at breast height. So kind of that standard height, 8 inches or more, and there's some provisions in there too for clumps of trees and how those would be marked on the survey. They would also have to be flagged on the property, and they would have to be shown on the survey plat. And then the zoning administrator would work with the applicant to preserve as many significant trees as possible based on the proposed development. And there would be some provisions in there where, you know, trees could be replaced, but, you know, you can see there's language in there that to the extent possible that existing significant trees would be preserved. That would be the goal of it. Now, one thing that's not in here, and you can see this in some other county requirements along these lines related to clear cutting, in some counties they identify exemptions. You know, they require a tree survey and a permit to be issued anytime land is clear cut unless it's exempt. And a lot of times what they point to is a section in state law that exempts forestry activity from city and county regulation based on a number of criteria. You know, how it's taxed. Is there a forest management plan? There's several criteria. Typically, what a county would do in that case is if one of those criteria is met, then the property can be clear cut and it is exempt from the survey requirement or any restrictions on it. But what you typically would do, though, is then you would have a period of time that the property could not be developed following that unless the provisions of the ordinance related to the survey and maintaining buffers were complied with. So if you had a tract of land and, you know, you just, you know, it was ag property for you, forest ag property, you had a forest management plan, you went in, removed timber, but if you went through the process with the county to preserve the buffers and comply with the ordinance, then you wouldn't have that restriction on you, say, 48, 60, however many months. If you sold it or you decided to develop it, then you would be capable of doing that. You'd have to meet all the requirements in order to do that. We don't have that in there now. Now, if that's something that you'd like to see, we can certainly do that, yeah.
Because I could see somebody going in, they say, oh, I'm just doing timber practices, I'm gonna clear cut this stuff and replant it. Oh, and by the way, 6 months later, I sold it to a developer, now they come in, it's already clear cut.
It's already ready,
You
yeah.
don't have any buffers.
Yep,
And like I said, typically, it's a percentage of the property, there's a minimum acreage that it applies to, and then there is a waiting period. So, I mean, you know, you say you clear cut 75% or 85, or whatever it is of the property, you didn't maintain buffers, then there'd be some period of time they'd have to wait before they could get a development approval, if it's a regulated, you know, development, yeah.
yeah, we need some type of language like that in there to protect
Okay,
us.
well, that's pretty easily added, so, yeah. We gave you the simple version first, and then I thought I'd describe the more complex approach. Okay, we wanted to make clear, this is in section 182, that, you know, buffers may not be used for passive recreation. You know, that's the approach that we discussed in the residential master plan district ordinance, and this would just expand that to any buffers, that they couldn't be used for passive recreation. Okay, in that same section, under subsection H, we're proposing the addition of a subsection 3. And what this looks to accomplish, and you'll see there's a table there, that it establishes buffering requirements for different types of uses based on what's adjacent to them, the types of uses that are adjacent to them. And you'll see everything in green is an addition. Anything in red would be a deletion, and you can see in this section there's no deletions proposed, we just added. And so on the left-hand side, you've got proposed uses. So these would be things that are being proposed by an applicant or a property owner. And I just want to point out, when you see residential, single-family, detached, attached, duplex, zero lot line, multifamily, those would not be subdivisions. So that would be something less than a subdivision. So you could imagine with residential, single-family detached, that could apply to a single lot that somebody, let's say, is building a house on. I mean, that's a, you know, sort of garden variety example, you know. Major subdivision, that is a separate line, and you'll see it's in green because we're proposing to add that. That was not, this is an existing table, this was not in the existing table. We've also added a column for existing adjacent uses. So this would be, again, you know, we're really focused on what's beside this piece of property that's being proposed to be developed. We added a column, all uses on lot zoned R2 rural. So it's if a piece of property is beside a property that's proposed for some form of development activity, and that adjacent property is R2, the buffer widths in there that you see that are in green would apply. And you can see that if it's residential single family, again, best example of that, somebody's building a house on their lot or a duplex. We don't have many of those out in the county, but let's just say, you know, it's a duplex that's being built. There would be no buffer required. It would just be the standard setback. And, you know, that's, again, that's what we have now. You can, because you can carry it over into the columns where the black text is, and you can see it's consistent with that. If it is single-family attached, so, you know, townhomes come to mind there, zero lot line, multifamily, so I would think they're more along the lines of apartments, manufactured home park, commercial or industrial, if that development is proposed on property beside R2 rural, it would be a 100-foot buffer at a minimum. So that would be consistent with what we discussed with the RMPD, the Residential Master Plan District. You'll see that we are proposing that the buffer be changed for multifamily when it's beside residential single family, and that it be 100 foot. So that is a change there. And then we added a column to the far right for other uses. So this would be, the best examples are commercial and industrial. That would be non-residential. And so those numbers in green would be what's the buffer requirement when the proposed uses on the left are adjacent to existing commercial or industrial. And you can see the buffers are a little smaller there. But if it was, say, industrial commercial that was proposed adjacent to an existing residential use, there would be a more significant buffer required on that industrial or commercial property. So I just wanted to explain kind of what that table is trying to accomplish. Now below it, you'll see there's a subsection 3 there, and this would be for residential, major residential subdivisions, and that's a line in the table. It says C subsection H3. And what it requires is a 100-foot buffer on the perimeter. That area would be undisturbed natural area. We could require additional plantings. That would be maybe in areas where it's sort of sparse and open. You could require the addition of plantings. It would need to be maintained by an entity like a property managers association or a homeowners association. So it would be either privately owned, or there could be provisions too for it to be publicly owned if it was deeded to a public entity. Then they would have the requirements to maintain it. And it would not be considered in the overall open space calculation, just like the RMPD. You know, what we talked about there was a minimum 15% open space requirement and a 100-foot perimeter buffer, with the 100-foot perimeter buffer not counting towards the 15% open space. It's the same thing here. It's consistent with that. And then we just wanted to make it clear that areas adjacent to undeveloped parcels have to be buffered too. So it's not just if there's some form of improvement on that property. Even undeveloped adjacent properties, you have to buffer that line. And then we wanted to make clear too that any landscaping in the buffer would have to adhere to our landscaping ordinance, and you'll see that in section K. It just points to the landscaping section of the zoning ordinance. All right, flipping the page that we get in now to section 184. This is the landscaping section in our zoning ordinance, and we wanted to make it clear here that if a plant species that's proposed in the landscaping plan is identified as invasive by by the USDA or Clemson or DNR, then it can't be used. We don't want like the proliferation of invasive plant species. Then you'll see in K, entranceway enhancements. We wanted to provide in the landscaping ordinance some requirements for the entranceway into a residential development. And this would, this includes signage, landscaping, lighting, the potential for walls and fencing. We're proposing in here, if y'all agree, that that area be no less than 5,000 square feet. If it was a square, that'd be like 225 or 220 feet by 220 feet, roughly, something in that neighborhood. More than likely, it's going to be more of a rectangle or an odd shape, Signage would be governed by the county sign ordinance. They'd need to be monument-type signs. You wouldn't have any, basically, space between the bottom of the sign and the ground. They, could incorporate walls or brick structures. That's kind of common, when you have those. We would expect brick, split-face concrete block, some kind of decorative masonry, stone, terracotta, those kinds of materials. Stucco or plaster or even wood could work. You would have landscaping around the sign. We wanted to make sure that landscaping didn't become a visual liability in terms of the sight triangle at an intersection. So you got to be capable of looking over it so it doesn't create a safety issue for the driving public. And the landscaping in the sign area would have to meet the provisions of our our landscape ordinance. So it's a minimum of 12 shrubs, at least one large maturing tree, 2 medium maturing trees, and 3 small maturing trees. And we have those types of trees already defined in the ordinance. So those terms are currently used in the ordinance, and there are definitions that are currently in the ordinance for those types of trees. Then we talk a little bit about walls and fences there, that they can be used as a sign structure or as a boundary treatment or both, and what they would need to be constructed of. Again, masonry, brick, and stucco. There's also provisions in there for wood, split rail style construction fences, or like a painted metal, like in black or brown tones would be allowed, or is proposed to be allowed. The lighting would need to meet all of our light and glare limitations and regulations that are currently in the ordinance. They couldn't be internally lit, so I mean, you can't have a sign with internal lighting, like maybe you'd see with a business out on Wilson Road. They can be illuminated and uplit. We want to make sure the light is white, and that the lighting is placed between the roadway and the landscaping, so it's shining at the landscaping, not at the road, where it would become potentially a safety issue at night. And then we also have a provision in there where, like if it's natural gas lights, that could be permitted and reviewed by the zoning administrator. The next section that we were going to propose some revisions to you on is section 185, which is open space. And here you'll see there's a deletion of cluster developments. That's assuming y'all move forward with repealing cluster, which is on the agenda for the 6 p.m. meeting. And we added in, or proposed to add, residential master plan districts. So that's also assuming that y'all approve the creation of that new zoning district. We wanted to also address, so we don't have conflicting language in the zoning ordinance, that required buffers cannot be included in open space calculations, so you'll see a red strike through there. And we added the open space ratio of at least 15% into the ordinance. So, open space would be required at that level or more. We propose to delete subsection G, you'll see there, where it specifically referenced cluster developments, because if you repeal cluster, we won't have provisions for that. So that's another delete. And then on the last page, you'll see that definition of significant tree that I mentioned. And that would be any existing healthy or structurally sound tree with a diameter at breast height of 8 inches or greater. And, I would just kind of, again, characterize these changes as somewhat housekeeping, partially trying to create some consistency, assuming that y'all adopt the residential master plan district. And I know you haven't done that yet, and you might want to make some changes to it. But, and then the other thing is we wanted to make certain with the other residential zoning classifications that you have similar buffer and open space requirements in those, because we know that that's priority of council. And these changes would accomplish that.
I got a question back on 182, where we have the all uses for lots zone R2, and we go down through there, single family, detached, 0. Then we get the duplex is 0, but right next to it's single family attached, so that's almost the same. 0 line lots, 100, that's almost the same, multifamily home. So to me, the duplex should also be 100 feet. Buffer.
Okay. Yeah, and the thought process there, and that's fine, I mean, we could certainly make that change, was that, a scattered site duplex in the county adjacent to R2, we kind of gave it the sort of single family treatment. I mean, typically they're of a similar size in shape, but I mean, if you want to establish some buffer requirements that apply to duplex, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think it needs.
That was the thinking behind it, yeah.
I mean, it's up to everybody else, but that's my recommendation.
And the planning commission may feel likewise too. They haven't seen this yet, so.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
The first is, at our last meeting, one of the public comments that I thought was intriguing was the idea of maybe moving from 8 to 6 houses per acre in these developments. Have we looked back at that through the administration to see the logistics of that? And can you give us an update on that, please?
Sure, yeah, I did look at that. It's not in the ordinance that's proposed for first reading, but like y'all have said many times, that's a kind of a living document until it gets to third reading. I did some calculations on it, and I mean, it would be a reasonable standard. And again, what you would do is you would take the total acreage of a site, you would deduct from it the acreage that's in buffer and in open space, which again, the open space would be, the buffer would be 100 foot around the property. Open space would be a minimum of 15%. The remaining acreage, then you would multiply it by that maximum number. So instead of 8, it would be 6, and it's still a significant number of units. Yeah.
I think so, and I do like taking the buffer out. I know we talked about that, in our conversation, but I don't think the buffer should be figured in, because then you could actually get an acre of land and get 20 houses on it if you got to figure the buffer into it. So it doesn't make sense to figure the buffer into the footage. So I do like that, but, I mean, I'm only one person, but this is a work session, so I like the 6 house idea better than I do the 8.
Me and you've already spoke about that. So
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And I could tell from our meeting, I mean, there were some, indications with that, so I expected, yeah.
The other question that I have is, has this as amended been posted on our website yet?
It has not, no.
Can we make an effort to get that up there sooner rather than later, so our citizens have an opportunity to look at what we're gonna be voting on? Housing developments are probably one of the biggest issues I hear about as I move around the county.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the more transparent we are, the sooner we get that out there and let them see this, the better off we're gonna be.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll get that up.
Okay?
Yep.
Those are my 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
I don't have anything.
Yeah. Any
Rita?
additional thoughts on the buffer for the duplex? Is that something y'all want to look at, or?
If it's a single duplex, I don't have a problem with it. Now, if it's a duplex after duplex, then yeah, I would think we would need a buffer, but
And this would just be a single, yeah.
just a single
That's
duplex, I don't really have a problem with it not.
We need to specify that in that chart.
Okay.
Duplex, single unit,
Single unit, okay. Yeah, let me work on that.
because
Or is
otherwise,
that in the definition somewhere? That's what I was gonna ask. What is the definition of a duplex within the ordinance? That might,
Yeah, I'll put some clarifying.
Okay.
We'll get some clarifying
Yeah.
language in there, yeah. Mhm.
yeah. 'Cause
I'm gonna think about that one.
If it's one,
they'll use that loophole.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we protect ourselves and our citizens.
I can't think of but 1 or 2 places in the county that we've got duplexes side by side, but I know of a couple, and if you have a whole community of duplexes, then you might want to think about having that buffer.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. We'll
'cause
get
you're
to
right,
work on that.
it'll get used against you if you don't
Yeah, we can think of
go ahead and get in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put some thought into it and look and see what you think.
Okay, and what we'll do is we'll make that change, the clarifying, in the version that goes to the planning commission.
Okay. Anything else? Clear as mud? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, that concludes what we have for the work session. If there's nothing else, do I hear a motion that we adjourn? Motion by Councilman Reader. I have a second. Second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. We are adjourned from the 5 o'clock meeting until the 6 p.m. meeting. Going to get our council meeting, I'd like to call our council meeting to order with the invocation and pledge by Councilman Scurry. Since Councilman Fulmer hasn't made it.
Here we are about bow our heads. Father God, remove all misunderstanding from our lives, equipping all of us the right spirit to go forward. In the sweet name of Jesus Christ, and we all say together, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's great seeing everybody out tonight, this afternoon. Everybody interested in county business, that's great. I'd like to first ask for everybody to please silence your cell phones so we don't have any interruptions if possible. And with that, we will move on. To item number 1 is the adoption of the consent agenda. We'll take this as one item if we hear no objection. A, Newberry County Council Work Session Minutes, September 17th, 2025, and Newberry County Council Meeting Minutes, September 17th, 2025. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Go forward.
Motion by Councilman Scurry, second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as presented? Motion by Vice Chair Cease, second by Councilman Scurry. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Item number 3, public appearances. Newberry County Auditor, Ms. Donna Lomanek, is setting of the fiscal year 2025-2026 tax levy. Our favorite person, Ms. Lomanek.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good evening.
Chairman, council members, Jeff, Dudley.
Good evening.
And everyone here tonight. This is my 17th time standing before you to do this, and this is my 4th time doing reassessment, which makes it a little different because ordinarily I would have done this the 1st of September. But since reassessment, we had to wait till all the figures were in to figure what the rollback would be for each municipality, school district, and the county. And that was all sent to them, then they sent back to me what they were going to do. So tonight, as Newberry County Auditor, I'm officially setting the 25 tax levy for all county and school bonded indebtedness purposes. It is authorized by Section 4-15-150 and 59-71-150 of the 1976 Code of Laws of South Carolina. I am presenting the 2025 tax levy for school ordinary purposes as set by the Newberry County Board of Education per letter dated September the 23rd, 2025, which stated the 2025 school ordinary tax levy will be set at 180 mills. Per County of Newberry Budget Ordinance Number 5-2-2025, I am recommending that County Council levy 122 6/10 mills for county ordinary purposes. Last year it was 128.6. County general obligation bonds of 2020A, I am levying 7/10 of a mill. County general obligation bonds of 2020B, I am levying 3/10 of a mill. County general obligation bonds of 2018C, I am levying 4/10 of a mill. I am recommending the county council levy 6 mills for the community services levy for a total 2025 levy for county purposes of 130 mills. And for the 24-25 year, it was 137 mills. So that is a cut of 7 mills that the county's doing. For school purposes, the Newberry County Board of Education has levied 180 mills for school ordinary purposes for the 25-26 fiscal year. For school general obligation bonds, I am levying 53 mills for a total 2025 levy for school purposes of 233 mills. The total levy for county purposes is 130 mills, and for school purposes is 233 mills. The total 2025 tax levy for both county and school purposes is 363 mills, and last year the total was 370 mills. The anticipated value of a mill for the 25-26 fiscal year for county purposes is $200,108. For school purposes, for the bonds, is $217,516, and for school purposes, for school operating, it's $149,483. And that is because the state gives us back the school taxes on our legal residences. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for all the
I think
hard
county
work.
council did real well this year.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for all your hard work.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I know that a lot of concern was going on about this, and so if we could have just a minute, I'd kind of ask our administrator a question that I wanted to present. The school district is not governed by rollback, and so we couldn't make them roll back, and they stayed the same, but this county council is governed by rollback and committed to do rollback, and did that, so you saw a 7 mil decrease in the amount of taxes the county council is going to ask for. But Jeff, could you talk about the difference that would make on about $100,000 house?
Sure, yes, absolutely. So most of what we deal with are 4% properties and 6% properties. 4, of course, would be owner-occupied. 6 would be commercial or absentee-owned residential property. And so the 7 mil decrease equates to a $28 per $100,000 value reduction for 4% property and $42 per $100,000 of value for 6%. So if it's a $100,000 home that's owner-occupied, their taxes would go down $28 based on the 7 mil decrease. If it was, let's say, a piece of rental property and it was $100,000 in market value, the decrease would be $42. And then it's just really linear. You go up to 200,000, then you're talking about $56 and $64. So.
Thank you for that. I thought it would be good to hear the physical impact of that, and not just because when you start talking mills, I think the truth is, as much as we learn about those, it still can be confusing. And so thank God for our auditor who does such a great job with that, and we're thankful for you. But that puts it to me, I can understand cash on $100,000 much clearer than I can understand millage, and that's real. That's money in our pocket. So thank you for doing that for us.
Oh, yes, sir.
Understanding dollars is a whole lot easier than meals to most people. So, yeah, thank you for the explanation. And good job to everyone for being able to do that. All right, item number 4, the special recognition, the Chapel's Fire and Rescue. Mr. Brandon Wicker.
Thank you, Council, for recognizing our volunteers. Tonight, we're going to recognize Chapel's Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Squad. That station is 10 and 15. Chapel Fire and Rescue, they're pretty much one department. They're in the same building, so we'll call them a combination fire and rescue station. They're located 3218 South Carolina 39 in Chapels. They serve approximately 2 businesses, 2,100 residents, as well as mutual aid and auto aid calls to Silver Street and Bush River. Total calls that they ran in 2024 were 213, 123 of those were for fires, storms, and MVAs, and 90 for medical calls. 10 and 15, they have also one of our landing zones throughout the county that we have. They have a lighted pad to land the helicopters on. Current membership, that department is 13 firefighters and rescue combination personnel. They have a chief, assistant chief, and a captain, as well as 2 other firefighters that are now certified as interior firefighters. 8 other volunteers are fire ground support personnel. All 13 members are fire and rescue available, with all 13 volunteers trained and certified with CPR and first aid, TMs, which is traffic management, EVDT, and with the ability to get all 6 fire trucks to the scene during a call. The chief, the assistant chief, captain, and 2 others fire ground support volunteers also have auto education skills, as well as role training, pump operations, pipeline awareness, and hazmat awareness. 70% of Station 10's 58 square miles are densely wooded. Chief and Assistant Chief that attended Wildland Urban Interface class took that. That helps with that type of search, rescue, fires, that type of stuff. On the rescue side, the station, there are currently 3 EMRs, as well as an EMT. Coverage for rescue side of Chapel Station 15 includes additional coverage for Station 7 and 8 on the fire side. If we think about it, that's how our rescue squads are broke down. 2024, Station 15 upgraded their pickup truck to a QRV. They added AED, oxygen, completed a medical bag and a trauma bag. They also have water rescue PFDs, helmets, throw bags, floating line, Mustang safety devices for swift water rescue. In 2025, Station 15 received a grant allowing them to purchase an ATV and a trailer for search and rescue and operations off-road, including a toolbox and lighting. Station 10 was the first station in the county to achieve the SC Safe Communities. This will be their 4th consecutive year they will receive that. In 2020, this is just a side note, 2020 when the current chief retired, he was the last interior firefighter at the station. There were no licensed medical professionals as well. That kind of shows how they progressed over the last 5 years, you know, what they built on over the last 5 years. It's like, thank y'all for recognizing them. I think they only have one member here tonight. Two. Oh, we got 2. All right, so he snuck in on me. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all wanna come up and get your picture made? That is always the highlight of our day, recognizing our volunteers. They are the backbone of our community and save us a lot of money and are a big help, for sure.
Sure does.
All right. Item number 5, a proclamation recognizing October 3rd, 2025 as National Manufacturing Day and October 3rd through 10th, 2025 as National Manufacturing Week in Newberry County. And the proclamation is, whereas Newberry County is home to over 40 manufacturing firms representing the largest business sector in our community and employing more than 5,000 people. And whereas manufacturing is one of the highest paying business sectors in our community, averaging an annual salary of about $71,240 per year, or about $34 per hour. And whereas combined, these manufacturing businesses produce an annual payroll of more than $300 million per year. And whereas Newberry County has one of the largest manufacturing workforces in the state of South Carolina, accounting for more than 20% of the workforce, nearly double the state's 14% and more than triple the nation's 8.3%. And whereas manufacturing is the vanguard of local economies, leading to more new jobs and investment outside the manufacturing sector. And whereas in the last decade, Newberry County has welcomed 13 new manufacturing companies into our county, representing more than $726 million in investment, and the creation of 1,690 new jobs. And whereas Newberry County's existing manufacturing has expanded 18 times in the last decade, investing more than $241 million and creating more than 510 new jobs. And whereas 5 of the top 10 tax-paying businesses in the county are manufacturers, supporting local government, emergency response, and local schools. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the County Council of the County of Newberry that October 3rd shall be National Manufacturing Day, and October 3rd through 10th, 2025 shall be National Manufacturing Week in recognition of the many benefits and contributions of our manufacturing sector. Do I have a motion to accept this proclamation? Motion by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Reader. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Mr. Rick, would you like to come up and accept this proclamation?
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for doing this for the manufacturing community. It is truly the #1 economic driver in this community. We're quite proud to be where we are.
It is the heartbeat of our community. Helping us thrive.
I guess.
You bring them to us. All right. Item number 6, ordinance number 09012025, an ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of a general obligation bond of Newberry County, South Carolina, not exceeding $405,000 in principal amount, to prescribe the purpose for which the proceeds of said bonds shall be expended, to provide for the payment of said bonds and other matters related thereto. This is the third reading. You have anything to add to that, Mr. Shacker?
No, sir, just that, the revenue from the bond is in the revenue portion of the general fund budget, and the offsetting expenditures, what we would purchase with those bond proceeds, are 2 ambulances. What we do are 5500s. They're more likely to be a Ford product based on cab chassis availability. And so we had those 2 ambulances for EMS and then a fire engine.
Very good. Do I have a motion to be third reading? Motion by Councilman Smith.
I thought that is in ordinance number 7, the ambulance and the fire engine.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking about bond, aren't we?
Yes.
Purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about the bond.
Okay. The bond is essentially,
For the,
we're utilizing excess funds within the debt service fund to purchase a triaxle dump truck.
That's right.
25-ton trailer, and then there's a adaptable 6500 truck that we can change the body out on.
Multi-use.
More than likely would have a dump body most of the time on it, yeah. And that bond would be paid off after 4 months for those items, yeah.
Thank you for clarification, and thank you for catching that, Vice Chair.
I was hoping we'd get the fire truck for $400,000.
That'd be great. That'd be great. If you find one for that, we'll buy it. All right, we had a motion, and have a
Yes.
second? Second by Vice Chair. Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 7, ordinance number 09022025, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an equipment lease purchase agreement in the amount not exceeding $2,100,000 relating to the purchase of certain equipment by Newberry County, authorizing the execution of other necessary documents and papers and other matters relating thereto. Re-explain, that's the 2 ambulances and the fire truck.
Yeah.
So in this case, the proceeds from the lease purchase are budgeted as revenue. The purchase of the 2 ambulances and the fire truck are budgeted as expenditures, and the real impact on the budget is the lease purchase payment. It's a 5-year amortization, and of course, we'll know the interest rate once we solicit bids for the lease purchase financing. But it'll be a bank place note, and then we've got some capital revenue streams that'll be used to make the payment on.
Very good. Do I have a motion? Let's be
I'll
third.
make that motion.
Motion by Vice Chair. I have a second. Second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 8, ordinance number 09032025, an ordinance to amend the text of the official zoning ordinance of Newberry County, South Carolina, as codified in Chapter 153 of the Code of Ordinances of Newberry County, South Carolina, to repeal 153.090 cluster development, single-family residential. This is the public hearing. All right, we have Mr. Forrest Bird signed up to speak. Please come up and state your name and your address, and remember you have 5 minutes. And I got a bell up here. Ring.
My name is Forrest Bird. I live on Macedonia Church Road. Well, actually, Wilson Landing Road. I actually like this proposal. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I know, unusual. I mean, I like growth, even though I don't like growth in traffic. I don't like growth in taxes. I don't like growth in pollution. But I like the right kind of growth. I'm old, I'm not going to be around forever, but I plant oak trees, I plant big pines. I like trees that grow big, shade out the weeds. You know, they become something, add value, become something worthwhile. It's another kind of growth where you go out and just plant wheatgrass. Looks good when you first plant it out there. It's pretty. But if you're not really doing a lot with it, the weeds soon come in, the briars soon come in, turns to trash. The more densely you plant, or the more dense you put people in a population, the quicker it turns to crud. You got people spread out, oak trees, big, good growth, good profitability, good for everybody. Jam everybody together, you turn the world to crud. So even the 6 houses on an acre, you know, okay, you put it off from becoming the projects from 5 years to 6 years. Still going to be a problem. Still going to be law enforcement coming in to solve the problems. Still going to be high maintenance. Still going to be a big expense on the schools and everything else. So I like growth, but it needs to be the right kind of growth. It needs to be good growth for long term. And so this limiting this small breakup stuff is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. All right, no one else has signed up for public hearings, so I will now declare the public hearing now closed. Do I have a motion this be second reading? Motion by Vice Chair. Second. Second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 9. Ordinance 0904-2025, an ordinance acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established pursuant to zoning ordinance number 12-24-01 as revised and amended by zoning ordinance number 6-11-16 and codified in chapter 153 of Newberry County Code of Ordinances, establishes zoning classification and districts as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 29 10/100 acres designated as TMS number 340-3-2-111 from RG General Residential to R2 Rural. This is the second public hearing. I have no one signed up for this public hearing, so I will ask that we have a motion that this be second reading. Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Vice Chair. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Item number 10, ordinance number 10-01-2025, an ordinance amending the Newberry County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 154, Newberry County Land Development Regulations, adopting updated standards for the subdivision and development of land in Newberry County, and providing for the repeal of all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent necessary to give this chapter full force and effect. Any explanation on that, Mr. Shiker?
Yes, Yes, sir. So what this ordinance proposes to do, and this has gone to the Planning Commission, been reviewed by y'all at our work session last month, and now you've got an ordinance in front of you for first reading. What it proposes to do is establish a new zoning classification. We're not proposing that any property be rezoned to this. This would just make it available to a landowner or an applicant requesting rezoning. And the concept is that you would apply planned development principles to potentially to residential development if that zoning classification was requested. And the way a planned development district works is the property is master planned, and then the master plan becomes the zoning for the property. And so it's sort of like an adaptable approach. The goal of this, though, number one, is we needed an option that didn't require mixed use, and the courts have made it clear with planned development district zoning, you have to have mixed use, like residential and commercial, or commercial and something else, for example. So that would not be required in this case. But the goal of it, in addition to providing that option, is to preserve the character of the county. Y'all have expressed that as a priority and goal for this council. And so what the district aims to do is to require significant perimeter buffering. You'll notice that the minimum in there is 100 foot. That would be all property lines, including any road frontage, which would be the edge of the right-of-way, which is typically off of pavement, so it's within the property, or what appears to be within the property. And then in addition to that, a minimum 15% open space requirement, and the perimeter buffer would not apply to the threshold for open space. And in exchange for that, it would provide a certain density of development maximum that would be allowed within the interior of the property. Again, the intent is to try to minimize the impact on adjacent properties. I'm sorry, I believe you did number 11.
Yes.
You did. Oh, I got off the agenda again. I need to put my readers on. Yeah. Yeah, then we're on the LDR. Oh, the LDR. I'm sorry.
On the LDR.
Yeah, okay. Well, here I keep getting ahead of myself. So the LDR, and we've talked a lot about that. You know, we started that process at the end of last calendar year and got through part of the adoption. Yeah, this is the first, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe that's why I skipped it.
Probably.
But you know what the land development regulations do, and we were overdue for checkup on it and modifications. I mean, the current land development regulations date back to 1998. What those do, kind of similar to the residential master plan zone, we're not proposing anything that is site-specific. These are simply standards that apply countywide when property is subdivided, and those standards relate to stormwater, erosion and sediment control, the roads, and other infrastructure for property. And then it also specifies how the process works for subdividing land and what has to appear on the plat. And like I said, I mean, we kind of started this late last calendar year, sort of got in midstream, hit the pause button, and then it's gone back through the legislative process, which included a review by the Planning Commission and changes, and now it's in front of y'all for adoption.
Very good. Do I have a motion this be first reading? Motion by Councilman Reader, second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right. Number 11 is ordinance number 10-02-2025, an ordinance to amend the text of the official zoning ordinance of Newberry County, South Carolina, as codified in Chapter 153 of the Code of Ordinances of Newberry County, South Carolina, to establish a new zoning district, RMPD, Residential Master Planned District. We had some explanation on that.
Yeah,
Motion this be first reading.
I can do it again for you if you want me to.
We got a motion to be first reading. Do I have a second? Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 12, County Council may take action during executive session during 4 p.m. special meeting. There was no action taken. Are there any appointments? No appointments. Public comments. All right, Mr. Forrest Bird. You don't have to state your name and where you live, but you got 3 minutes this time.
first on both lists. Good to see y'all again. It's been a long time.
Seen you in a while.
Good to see y'all. I got a friend of mine, lives in Richland County, different county, completely different place. I know it's hard to believe I got a friend, isn't it? But I do. I've worked for the wildlife department. He's big into the outdoors and nature and stuff. Had a nice house. I think he had a place about 6 acres, out rural, getting close to peak somewhere. I built a pond in the back. Behind it, there was a creek that ran behind it, big trees. We go out there and grill hamburgers or hot dogs, and everybody just have a good meeting out there and enjoy nature. Kind of a pleasant thing of rural life. And then the developers came. And they were going to build a neighborhood upstream from him. The project basically meant that they needed to run sewer somewhere. Well, guess where they run sewer? They follow creek lines, because creeks go downhill. So the natural flow of water and the natural flow of everything is down the hill through basically following the creek drainages and that sort of stuff. So that beautiful place pretty much got taken over for the better good because they wanted to put in a neighborhood upstream. To me, it tore up one of the good things of the county, and there's lots of things like that get tore up in the county. So when we're looking at development and we're bringing people in from the outside, we also need to look at what we're doing downstream and how that's affecting all the rest of us. And in our woodlands and all the other stuff that we sort of love to go to and cherish and enjoy time and privacy. And you're sitting out there on what used to be a beautiful creek, and now it's sewer line running by it. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. You got 2 friends. I'm your friend. All right, Miss Alicia Wessinger Huffstetler. And 3 minutes as well.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
I think I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
I think y'all are doing a good job. I think y'all are hearing what the citizens want, and that's really good. My comment today is twofold. If you want to know what 6 0 lot lines or 4 0 lot lines look like, Mr. Google can help you know what that looks like. Everybody everybody knows Mr. Google. Type in, 0 lot lines, 6 houses per acre, or 6 whatever 4, and you can see what it looks like, and you can determine whether you want that for this county or not. Because Mr. Google is really helpful. The other thing I want to comment about is the administration, county administrator job. Because Jeff, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
But county job needs county skills, and county, from this going forth, it needs county experience. So I encourage you guys to take one of these as a highlighter and go through all of the applications and highlight the ones with county experience, county education, or just whatever with the county, and pick from those, because Newberry County deserves that. Like I said, Jeff, you've done a great job. But from going forward to B, he got y'all to A, let's go to B, C, D, E, F, G, county administration experience. And that is my lovely comment. So I know everybody has one of these, And then, of course, contact Mr. Google for all the other questions. Great pictures on Mr. Google, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. All right. Any comments from our administrator?
I feel like I've talked a lot already.
Just out of turn in place.
Yeah, and out of turn as well,
That's
yeah.
all right.
Just, we got a lot of projects going on, and those projects, I think you're seeing visible signs of them. The Mawson's Way extension, they're making good progress with the construction of that road. Rick's still here, water and sewer line extensions within Mid-Carolina Commerce Park are proceeding well. And then the CPST projects too. So the next one that's on deck is Prosperity's park improvements, and the pre-bid was yesterday. Yeah, not Monday, yesterday. yesterday. So we hope to have bids in towards the end of October and y'all to be in a position hopefully to award a contract for construction in November.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Making progress towards our software upgrade, conversion as well.
Yes, in fact, we've got 2 all-day sessions tomorrow and Friday.
Very good.
Yep.
Stay on track. All right, is there any council member have any comments, special comments?
I just wanted to bring something out, talking about the projects. I plan on bringing this out anyway. The sidewalk project that us and Whitmire Town Council had worked so hard on has died on the vine at this point. We've made every offer that we could make. Every property owner except one was willing to sign a construction easement. That one property owner has refused to sign that. We made them every consideration we could, in fact, more than what was reasonable, in my opinion, just trying to get that project done. And so that property owner is not going to only stand in the way of sidewalks running from those low-income apartments up to town hall, but will negatively affect Newberry County Council's ability to get such grant funding in the future. And I just think it's tragic. I know, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Mr. Smith went up and looked at that area and it's just tragic. It's just tragic, and I hate that for everybody. But I did want to give that update because we talked so much about it.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Any other comments from council? Hearing none, I thank everybody for coming out. Definitely thank the fire and rescue. We appreciate all that they do, all their hard work and time that they put in as volunteers. We need them and we support them, and always will. Ms. Donna, thank you for all your hard work. Staff, great work on everything. Y'all doing a great job. Let's see, future meetings. Newberry County Public Safety Committee, October 20th.
13th.
October 13th at 5.
That's correct.
I need my glasses too, Jeff. Yeah. October 13th at 5 p.m. Newberry County Council Work Session, October 15th at 5 p.m. Newberry County Council, October 15th at 6 p.m. Newberry County Executive Committee, October 27th at 5 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Reverend Scurry. Councilman Scurry. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? We are adjourned.